This will be the first part of 3 of a writing Q&A. So the first one we'll go over is some basic writing questions. The second part, which will be the next video, will be about story progression and characters. And then the third part is book questions. So today we're going to be focusing on the topic of writing. And I got these questions from a recent live stream I attended. And I thought of these questions very interesting. I wanted to answer them right then and there. But I decided to make this video today to answer some of the writing questions and give my perspective on it. So, yes. All right. And hopefully it doesn't take me too long. All right. So, how can I develop my writing skills? So, how can I develop my writing skills? My answer for that would be having consistency of writing. The only way that you're going to improve in writing is keep on writing. Having a routine that you follow and dedicating time to writing. The goal of improving with your writing is to develop and get into the craft and understand what it takes to write. And some of the ways that you can do it is you can start small, writing short stories, and that can get you into writing more. So when you write short stories, it's like parts. So it's kind of like writing a chapter of a book. And when you are writing that short story, you are enhancing that muscle memory of writing. You're getting into that habit. You're trying to gain that consistency. And that's the goal, being consistent with writing. So, does anyone have made up names in their books? Because I feel like I don't like the normals, so I end up making them up. Or is it just me? So, it's pretty normal to make up names, especially in science fiction and fantasy genres. Like, there are names that are like kind of spelled way differently, or names that we probably never heard of before. So that is very normal. So don't freak out. But if you're writing in a genre like probably romance or like historical fiction, maybe find a name that fits in that time period or that seems more realistic. But in fantasy, especially, feel free to be creative with the character names and however weird you want to make it. But make sure it's able to be pronounced and, memorable. So, yeah. So, guys, how can I improve my vocab and writing skills? So, this is very similar to the first question, but this is one of the questions I directly answered on the live stream. So, this is what I said. So, I would say write short stories and read through it to spot some differences in your writing. So, yes, when you have that consistency of writing, once again, you are improving your writing. There are things that you might do differently. And I'll use this for example. When I started writing, I started out writing murder mysteries, and I was pretty inexperienced. And I wanted to write that book because that's the story I really wanted to tell. But over the years that I've been writing, I've always been writing what I've loved, but I've been noticing some differences, like the way I express someone's point of view, or certain things that I write for a character that I wouldn't have wrote for someone else, or me phrasing things in a certain way that even surprised me. So, yes. And when you read through your writing, like, it might sound like a daunting task at first, but really, it shows you, like, where you need to work on it. Like, it really, like, it's no shame in reading your own work. It's good reading your own work, and it gets you aware of, like, what what your writing style and your preferences and your tendencies are. And it's really great, by the way, having be able to have different variety of writing pieces and just spotting the differences. And sometimes it's not like the first time of reading it. It might take multiple read throughs, but like subconsciously you'll notice some type of difference. All right. Here's a good question that I was like, ooh, this is a great question. So, how can I avoid overusing I when writing in first person? So, writing in first person, obviously you're using I, me, my, pretty much the possessive terms that is about yourself or whoever the character is, you're going to use I. And it's very easy to say I. I guess I could give you an example. I'll give you an example. Okay. All right. This is gonna be from my novel I'm currently working on. I'm going to use a few sentences here. All right. I sit on the edge of my balcony where I watch the sunrise from the east that's minutes away. The sky is always ocean blue and glows like the universe light years away. I do this often at dawn without my parents ever worrying because my movements are quiet. Why? Well, I have these powers that I can't explain. I hide my identity to keep it safe, and one wrong move, I'm done for. So that's pretty much the first paragraph of my novel. Nice teaser, okay? Yeah. So there were plenty of eyes in that paragraph. It's fine, kinda, but at the same time, you can overuse the word I very easily. It's very easy to overuse it. And a good way to do it, I guess this is some advice for not overusing the word I, is I don't know, replace it with some action and all that stuff without you using the word I. And like, I wrote it first person before, but it's very easy to overuse it, I'm going to say, but like get your character doing something and I don't know, like maybe describe something else. That's gonna be how I answer the question. Okay, so I'm on draft 2, rewriting from scratch. I worry I'm over editing or over explaining. How do you know when you've gone too deep into the editing hole? So whenever you are in the editing stage, I know that's not a lot of people's favorite, but it's necessary. When you're going too deep into editing, I would say having that mindset of the book have to be perfect. Like you are reading like crazy. Like you're probably taking an all-nighter, like trying to find the littlest things that do not need to be in your book and all that stuff. And a good way to know that is like how often are you like reading over this thing or like the same thing? Like have you moved on to another story or like yeah, it's really funny. And for me, how I know that I'm going too much in the editing hole is whenever I'm like constantly thinking about the story and I just want to go back to it. And yeah, that definitely happens. So yeah. But I would say don't overthink it. Like trust the process, and if you need a break, take a break. And it's also good to put the book aside for a little bit. Just give it like a few days or even a few weeks And then when you go back, you will see the story more objectively instead of subjectively. All right. So, question: what to do when my writing gets boring at certain parts? Are there things I should add or change? So, there are going to be parts that are going to be slow or lagging or dragging. That's going to happen. What you do? Ooh, that is just such a great question. I would say like kind of think about that scene that you say that's boring, and think about how you can like take it up a notch. Or maybe with that boring scene, if you had to cut it, like maybe read the previous scene to see how that is, and if that boring scene is unnecessary, cut it. But like kind of reinvent it where it doesn't seem boring. Like have your characters be active even in that boring scene, and maybe it'll make it less boring. And when you are editing scenes or going through scenes and all that stuff, and in your book in general, you are very prone to confront change. That is just going to happen regardless. And whether you should add or change something is totally up to you. And whether or not that is necessary enough to be in there, stay where it's at, or maybe move to a different section of the story. And funny enough, in my previous videos, I was talking about rules and all that stuff, and what you should keep or something, bending rules. I forgot to say, I remembered whenever I was like going back, I was like, oh, like you need to have a good reason why that part of the story should remain there, especially when you have other people looking at it, reading over it, and when you ask them for their honest opinion or critiques, they catch something that might seem unnecessary to them, but you need to have a good reason for it to stay in the book. If not, you're most likely probably going to delete it. But if you do end up deleting it, I highly recommend going on another document and putting that thing in there, because what if that's your favorite scene in the whole book? So that's just a little thing that I remembered. All right. So, how do you write in deadlines? So, well, I'm going the self-publishing route. I don't necessarily have a deadline, but when you set a deadline for yourself, it's really important to stick with it, and also like make sure you really, really are consistent with your writing routine. You might have to spend longer than you usually do, especially when that deadline is nearby. And I know for traditionally published, there are definitely deadlines, and it's like let's go, and that really happens, and you don't want to come to chime time and you're like, I'm only at the beginning of the book and the book is due in 3 days. So it's really important to have consistency and have a writing routine that will help you meet that deadline. Okay. Oh, and also when it comes to publishing, like you want to publish your book and all that stuff, make sure you have everything done. Okay? Make sure everything's final and good, and do your double, triple checks and all that stuff. Alright? So, do you write every day? Okay. Me? No, I do not write every day. I do not write every day because I don't have every single day to write exactly. And some days I don't have anything to write. And that's okay, but I don't write every day. Also, like, writing every day is good, but it can also be bad. How is bad? You can lead yourself to burnout if you just force yourself to write every day, and you don't want writing to become a chore. And writing is supposed to be fun. You want to write the story that you want to tell and brag to all your friends about. So, like, if you need a break, take a break. If you need like a week off, take a week off. Like, no one is forcing you. It's you, and no one is telling you what to do and all that stuff. So yeah. This next question, the first part of it is not based on my video, but I'm going to read it, okay? So I recently watched your video about getting rid of the critic in your head, but I still feel like I'm failing somehow. Is it practice or is it just me? So the critic in your head can be your worst enemy. Can or is your worst enemy. And that critic in your head can tell you things that will try to bring you down, like, oh, you can't finish that book, oh, like, yeah, that's not going down, you will never publish that book and all that stuff, or like, okay, you it has to be perfect and all that stuff. And that happens time to time. It's really are you going to overcome that? How are you going to make of that situation or that circumstance whenever that critic gets inside your head? And I will say it's kind of like a practice in a way, because when you get to writing, you're going to feel like you have all this momentum in the world, but you crash into a wall. Yeah, that's that critic in your head. That just happens. And I can't tell you exactly how often that happens because that depends on the person. But for me, that happens time to time. So yeah. Okay. So definitely it's not just you. Like, we all go through that time to time. How do you know it's time to start your second draft when I just keep getting more and more ideas? Okay. So for me, set the book aside for a few weeks and then come back to it. And even though you have more and more ideas, it's great having more ideas for it. Like, think about what ideas that can fit into that book. And then if it makes sense to make a sequel or a series out of it, maybe those other ideas that you had can be implemented in those next upcoming books. So that's how I'll answer that question. And it's very fun having so many ideas because I have that all the time, and it's very fun. It's very fun. Right now, I'm super overstimulated and stressed because of my book. So how do you get over writer's block and how you make book writing fun again? All right, writer's block. I talk about writer's block on my channel. I have multiple videos that goes over it and all that stuff. And 2023 and 2024 were my years that I had the most writer's block. Why? I have no idea. But it's something that does happen to every writer. It does take some time. It can take days, weeks, and can even take months. Trust me. It took me a year to finish Mermaid Mysteries, and for 2 months I did not write a single thing for Mermaid Mysteries, which was crazy. I still can't believe it, but I was in writer's block severely. So how you get over writer's block? A lot of times, sometimes you need to take a break from writing in order to get back to writing. Or other times, you have to write through writer's block. You need to, like, probably write something else. And sometimes that is the solution. Writing something else, take your mind off that main story that you are focusing on and have writer's block, focus on something else. Maybe write a short story, write a fan fiction, or write a different story, like a brand new book. And then when you get out of writer's block, you're like, pause and get back to the story that you really want to tell. So yeah. And how to make writing fun again. Definitely writing a different story and having all these ideas, and ooh, amazing, right? Yes, it's so amazing. That to me, that's how to make writing fun again. Also, you can like make some fan art or book covers, or give yourself like little teasers about the book. Like, be your biggest cheerleader, be your biggest fan, and promote the book for yourself. Like, oh, I really want to do this and all that stuff. All right. Is fantasy hard to write? I find it so hard. Whenever I saw this question, I was like, this is a great question. I actually like this question because I was like, but I was like actually surprised. So like, is fantasy hard to write? What? But I was like, no. I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to answer this question. And this is one of the questions I actually answered on the live stream. So yes. And I had to think about this question of how to answer it. So here we go. I wouldn't say fantasy is hard. It can be complex. I want to stop right there really quick because there's a difference between hard and complex. So hard it's difficult, and like there's a lot to it that's like, oh my gosh, it's going to give me a migraine and all that stuff. Complex is rather you have different branches of something and you take it to a whole another level, and wow, it's very immersive. It's kind of like those ideas that you have, like when you have more and more of those ideas and you branch out of it, that's complex. And you can have complexity with your characters, your world building, your plot. You can expand the meaning of that thing that you have and make it complex. And it's all right having it's okay to have a complex fantasy. Think about those high fantasy books that you like. Let's see, what is it? Stormlight. Yeah, Stormlight. Is a high fantasy. The fantasy is very complex. It's not hard. It's complex. So yes. So let me continue my answer. So I wouldn't say fantasy is hard. It can be complex. You can make it easy or hard as you want. It is also one of the genres you can be very creative. So when it comes to fantasy, okay, you might have heard about soft magic or soft fantasy or hard fantasy or low fantasy, high fantasy. I'm sorry I mixed that up. So many terms. But low fantasy is like the bare minimum. You have, let's see, was it the rules are clear or unclear? Y'all can probably let me know in the comments. But like with low fantasy, it's like, your basic magic system or your basic world. You have these rules and limitations and all that stuff. It's like basic. High fantasy goes to that more complex. And it's like you like literally expand the world, and like there's like more than just, oh, here's this world and here's what the characters and all that stuff. Like you go more in depth into the nitty gritty stuff, like maybe the political side of things or the religious side of things, or more into the cultural, societal sides of that world. And with your rules, you're very, very specific, and you have these very specific limitations that the characters cannot surpass, really, or else there'll be some type of like plot hole unless you explain it. So yes, but whenever it comes to fantasy, you can be very, very creative with it, and that's why I love fantasy so much, because you can do whatever you want. And I love that. And with Mermaid Mysteries, even though I center it around Atlantis, I make it my own thing. And fun fact, when it comes to Atlantis, I'm like, okay, y'all heard of Atlantis hundreds of times, but let you predict what it actually looks like. And that's with the first book. With the second book, like I'm telling you, I have a trilogy prepared, want to publish. Stay tuned. Okay. Like with the second book of Mermaid Mysteries, I actually expand that to a new territory. And I explore that in a good bit. And then by the third book, I expand even more, and I actually get to a little royalty politics. Not too much, but enough. So, yeah. So you can make this as complex as you want. You can be very creative with it. And one of the things I'm trying to improve in as I'm writing is the world building. So, yes. But very great question. That's actually my favorite question. Alrighty. So, last one. How can we write stories that range around good to great quality and not just be safe and decent? So, okay, this might be my one and only time to talk about the entertainment industry, okay? Because the entertainment industry, when it comes to movies, and I guess, no, it's mainly movies. They have been playing very safe and producing the same things, and movies such as sequels and prequels, and there's like a lack of original movies. It's like original movies are dying, but they're not. There are like hit and miss movies that are actually original movies that people are loving. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to say about safe and decent. But when it comes to books, okay, this is books now. Book time, okay? All right. When it comes to writing stories, I think being on the safe side of like, oh, okay, let me get all these tropes that everyone loves and la la da, and make my story. That's the safe side, just following the trends. And trends, they only last for so long, and then there's a new trend. And if you miss that trend, it's like, I am going to ditch this book. But that's not true. Whenever you write stories, like you want to make them like not only good, you want to make them great. Like you gotta do different things with it. Like write the story that you love while also having some tropes that you like to sprinkle in there as well. Like have some combinations of it, be creative with it, and like take a risk. And when it comes to writing books, you are taking a risk. It's kind of like a gamble because like you're putting your book out there, wanting to sell or people to read it and talk about it and all that stuff, and deeper discussions and all that stuff. And to do that, like you gotta like you just gotta put stuff in there and combine it, design it, and all that stuff. So do not limit yourself when it comes to writing. And the next part of this Q&A series will go over story progression and characters. So I will see you there.